So what exactly is a healthy weight? You have to focus on your lifestyle to control your weight. You should not focus on your weight to control your weight. How much calorie a person needs. For example, let's say 1800 per day. And if you are consuming 2000, then you're consuming 200 calories extra. Get involved in different kind of physical activities. Go for cycling, do swimming. Fat again has two different categories, right? Those two different categories are saturated fat and unsaturated fat. Always the vegetable is not to be blamed. The way it is processed, the way it is cooked has to be blamed. Carbohydrates is the main source of energy. You cannot totally kill it unless you are on a ketogenic diet. Hello everybody, my name is Rohit. I take physical education on behalf of Prep School by Vidhyaashram. In today's class, we will cover the second session of sports and nutrition. In the first session, we studied about balanced diet, nutrition, macronutrients and micronutrients. So if you haven't watched the first session, I recommend you go back and watch that session first and then come back and resume this session so you could understand the whole chapter more better and you could understand it seamlessly. So having said that, let's move on with the session overview where we'll try to understand what all things we'll be covering in today's session. So first, we'll start off with healthy weight, where we will try to understand about what exactly is healthy weight. According to your height, according to your age, what exactly healthy weight is and the definition of that, the concept of that. After that, we will study about BMI benchmarks. You already studied about body mass index, which is again the expansion of abbreviation BMI in the 11th standard. In 12th standard also, you will study about the benchmarks on according to your height, what exactly weight will put you in the category of normal weight or underweight or obese weight. And after that, we will see the methods to control body weight. So if you are obese, if you are underweighted, then how do you bring your weight to a normal category weight or a normal weight or a healthy weight? We will study that in this particular topic. Having said that, let's move on with our session and start with our first topic, that is healthy weight. So what exactly is a healthy weight? According to National Institute of Health, a healthy weight is considered to be the one that is between 19 to 25. Now keep in mind, this 19 to 25, we are not talking about the kgs or kilograms or pounds. We are talking about the BMI, which you have already studied in 11th standard. What is BMI? Body mass index. Okay, so according to BMI, if your body weight falls in the category of 19 to 25, if your BMI is between 19 to 25, then you will be considered as normal weight. And if the BMI is between 25 and 29, then an adult is considered to be overweight or obese. If the BMI is 30 or greater than the person's considered, then it is considered as obese. So overweight and obese, both of them are put in the same general category when you talk about general health. According to the Institute of Health, they again put overweight and obese into two different categories. So again you have 19 to 25, which is a normal weight. Then you have 25 to 29, which is again overweight. And if you have greater than 30, if your BMI is greater than 30, that will be considered as obese according to the National Institute of Health. Okay. Having said that, let's try to understand what exactly is a healthy weight. As a layman, when you talk about healthy weight, we have this misconception or we have this thing going around in our society that if you eat well, if you get good weight and if you look lean, then you are not healthy. Okay, if your body doesn't have a good mass of fat, you don't look healthy. Your parents also say that eat well, you should get bulged up, then only you will look healthy and all those kind of stuffs. But that's not the truth. You also have studied in the first session of this chapter that what exactly is fat and how it is good, and at the same time how it is bad. Okay, fat is again what? It's a reserve energy that we have, and when our body doesn't have carbohydrates at that time, it uses that fat to again run different kind of things in our body. More about that you can see in the first session. So again, I recommend you go back and see that so you understand the whole concept of fat, how it is good, not bad, and how it can be bad at certain other situations if it is more. So in our society we have this conception going on that if you eat a lot, we were talking about that, right? If you eat a lot, if you get bulged a lot, then you will be again considered as healthy. If you're lean, and if you're not much, you look, if you're lean, you are not healthy or you're not fit. That's what people think, but that's not the case. According to the National Institute, if you have the BMI in the benchmarks of a normal weight that is given, then you are considered as a normal weighted person, okay, or a normal fit person. Now fitness doesn't have only physical thing to do with it. Fitness has all the different elements. You have to be anatomically fit, you have to be physiologically fit, you have to be mentally fit. But here, since we are talking about only the weight, the anatomical part of the body, we are talking about only the physical part, we will just focus on that, what is healthy weight. But I just gave you a brief idea about fitness, that fitness doesn't only have to do with the physical part of your body, but also with your, again, mental and psychological and physiological part of the body, okay? Having said that, having given a brief idea about what exactly healthy weight is according to BMI and National Institute of Health, let's move on to our next topic, that is again BMI benchmarks. So what all benchmarks do we have? Now how to calculate BMI, you already have studied that in 11th standard. In this class, in 12th standard, you will study what all BMI category will be fit according to different categories, okay? So according to your height, you have to calculate BMI, and if your BMI is again below 18.5, then you are considered as underweight. If your BMI is 18.5 to 24.9, it is called as normal weight. And then if it is 25 to 29, in between that, you will be overweight. Then obesity category comes, and obesity category is again divided into three different categories. You have obesity class 1, which is above 30 and in between 34.9. Then you have obesity class 2, that is 35 to 39.9, and after that you have obesity class 3, that is greater than again 40. So these are the BMI benchmarks. I want you to focus on this. I want you to note down this, and I want you to pause the frame here for a second and then note down all these categories, because this is important, because you have to print this chart or benchmark in your mind. You should have a picture memory of this in your mind. So every time when you calculate your BMI, every time when you calculate the BMI with the formula that is taught you in the 11th standard, which you practiced for the exams in the 11th standard, when you apply that formula to get the BMI, you should be able to instantly say if a person is overweight or obese, or overweight, again underweight or normal weighted, based on the chart that is printed in your mind. You shouldn't have to go back to refer this chart and then compare that chart with the result that you get to tell somebody if that person is weighted, overweighted, or underweighted, or normal weighted, okay? So this chart should be printed in your mind. So when you calculate BMI, automatically it should snap in your mind. Automatically it should click in your mind that, okay, this BMI, this person got this much of BMI, that means that person is underweight, or this person is again normal weight, or overweight, or obese. You have different categories in that. This should be there in your mind. So point is, this should be memorized, okay? This table, you have to memorize it, because it is again important for exam. From the perspective of exam, this is an important part of the chapter, that is BMI benchmarks. Now having said that, let's move on to the next part of our session, that is methods to control healthy body weight. What all methods you can apply to control your body weight, to maintain a healthy body weight. First, you should set an appropriate goal. That means if you are underweighted, we are talking about BMI benchmark. So that's why it is important for you to learn BMI benchmarks, okay? So according to the benchmark, if your body weight, if your BMI is below, okay, below the normal range, or it is above the range, then according to that you have to set your goal. Do you want to decrease your weight, or you want to increase your weight, or do you want to maintain the normal weight that you have? You have to set the appropriate goal. That's the first stage. In the first stage, you set your appropriate goal. So according to the BMI, if you are 5 kgs extra, then you have to set the goal that you have to decrease the 5 kgs or 5 pounds according to whichever metric system you are following. And after that, the second thing is that lay stress on health, not on weight. Think about stress, not on the weight. So whatever stress you take, whatever food habits you take, whatever things you do, whatever lifestyle you are carrying on, you have to focus on that, not on the weight. You should not focus on the weight and carry forward to decrease the weight. The thing is that because in a daily life, because of your passive life, because of the current modern lifestyle is the reason why people are getting obese and people are getting overweight. So obviously when you control that kind of a lifestyle, when you lead a healthy lifestyle, automatically your weight will come in control. So you should focus on the lifestyle more than the weight to control the weight. Okay, it looks a it sounds a little weird when you talk about the cross connection of that. Okay, it sounds a little weird when you talk about the cross connection of that, but you have to not focus on the weight to control the weight. Okay, if I put that statement like that, it will be a little confusing, but understand this again very carefully. You have to focus on your lifestyle to control your weight. You should not focus on your weight to control your weight. Hope you understood the statement. Let's move on to our next point, that is cut your calories. So everybody has BEE, right? Basic energy expenditure. Again, we studied this in the 11th standard. How much calorie a person needs per day to survive, or according to your body and according to your weight, how to again calculate. All these things we studied in 11th standard. So if your BEE is, for example, let's say 1800 per day, and if you are consuming 2000, then you're consuming 200 calories extra. That 200 calories will either excrete out or it will pile up in your body if any fat content is there in that calorie. Okay, again it will pile up in your body and it will cause you, again what? It will cause you overweight. It will be an extra added calorie in your body. You're not burning it out. So cut your calories. That's your next point. You have to cut your calories. Whatever calories you're not able to consume, if your lifestyle is now going less, with a less movement, if your lifestyle is a lifestyle where you don't move much, or if you're working in an office where the physical activity is not more, then you have to cut down your calories, because you won't be burning that calories which you consume, and end of the day you will just keep on sitting. At the same time you will be piling up the calories in your body. That is again injurious to health, and it will lead to increasing your weight. Having said that, let's move on to the next point, that is active lifestyle. Like I said, avoid following passive lifestyle. Follow active lifestyle. Get involved in different kind of physical activities. Go for cycling, do swimming, go for a morning walk in the early morning. If you don't have time, again early morning. If you don't have time in the early morning, go in the evening, but take a walk. All those different activities, whatever sports you play, choose a sport, whichever sports you used to like in your school days, choose that sport and you can still play that sport, and that itself will burn a lot of calories. So active lifestyle, if your body is moving, if your muscles are getting involved in every activity, automatically what will happen, your body will get used to the new lifestyle, that is the active lifestyle, and calories also will be balanced, and you don't have to worry much about eating. Okay, your calories getting burned, you don't have to worry much about weight, because automatically with time your weight will be coming back to a normal weight category according to body mass index. Having said that, let's move on to our next point, that is bring out support. Now many people are independent when it comes to fitness goals, but some people need a motivation, some people need a fitness partner, or you make a friendship goal like that. You have a gym partner, or you have a fitness routine partner, or a yoga partner. Find yourself a friend who is again interested in a fitness activity, who likes to again control his body weight and thing. When you have certain goals, common goals, you can take the help of that person and carry out that activity. So you also will be staying motivated. You guys will again keep motivating each other, and in that step itself you will again make yourself fit and your body weight will come into control. So bring out a support. Here bring out a support means bring out somebody who has the same fitness goals like you, so again you can link up and again you can carry forward with your fitness goal, and you can help each other to achieve the individual goals. Okay, so that's how you will bring up your friendship, you bring up your social health also, and you will bring up your physical health also. Having said that, let's move on to the next point. This is very important point again, yogic exercises. We have a chapter dedicated for yoga. So that itself shows how much importance yoga has in physical education. It has a dedicated chapter in the whole syllabus, both in 11th standard and in 12th standard. And elaborately I have taught those topics in the sessions. If you haven't followed, again I will say go back and watch the yoga sessions. Okay, so yoga exercises, if you do, again your body weight will be in control, your calories will be in control, and the muscle flexibility, any kind of problems that is there with your muscle, all those things will be reduced when you practice yogic exercises. So having said that, let's move on to our next point, that is avoid fatty foods. Now, I have taught you in the first session of this class about how good fat is, okay? Now, the misconception of fat is bad for the body and the rumor that is going on fat is bad for the body, it's not true. Fat is good for the body, and how it is good? For that, you have to watch the first session, then only you'll get to know. But the point is, fat again has two different categories, right? Those two different categories are saturated fat and unsaturated fat. So, saturated fat is again bad for the body. So, if you have potatoes, right? If you have, now people say potato is bad again because it has carbohydrates in it. Now, people are thinking carbohydrates also are bad. Carbohydrates is a major source of energy. Fat also is a major source of energy. If you are blaming the fat and carbohydrates both at the same time, the reserve tank and the main tank, then how are you going to survive? Because that's a main calorie, that's a main nutrient, that's a main macronutrient that you're blaming for the health. Both of them are good if you're consuming it in a proper ratio or proper balance. Okay, now they talk about potato, right? Potato is bad for the health. The fries are bad. Again, that's what I said. If you fry the potato and consume it, then it's bad. If you are boiling it and consuming it, then it's not bad. Because again, fat will be involved there because you're boiling it with the, again, ghee or whatever different kind of fat you use to again prepare it or process it. So depending on that, certain things will change. Always the vegetable is not to be blamed. The way it is processed, the way it is cooked, has to be blamed. Okay, so according to that it will depend. Now avoid fatty foods. Here when they're telling about fatty foods, they're talking about saturated fats, your french fries and different kind of other things that you consume in the fast food. That's what they are trying to say. Okay, so avoid such kind of fatty foods. Then avoid junk and fast food. Just the same point that I explained. Avoid eating too much of junk food. Now I won't say, given all the current lifestyle that is going on, lot of menus you have, lot of new cuisines you have to try, I won't say never touch pizza. I won't say never use burgers. I won't say never use hot dogs or anything like that. I won't say it like that. But my point is, you can consume those things once in a while, but don't make it a habit. Okay, our body is strong enough to handle once in a while fast foods without any kind of damage to the body. So, but that frequency of you consuming the fast food, that should be decreasing. Okay, the frequency of you consuming fat food should be decreased. It should not be weekly, it should not be monthly. Okay, fine, monthly also you can have once, but don't make it a weekly habit. Okay, every Sunday I'll go and have fast food, every Saturday I'll go and have fast food with my friends in the weekends. Please don't do that, because again, fast food is very bad for the health. Now having said that, let's move on to our next point, that is avoid overeating. That means whatever calories is necessary for your body, just consume that. Don't overeat. Okay, just because sometimes you may not be serving your own food, sometimes your parents may be serving your food, or sometimes some other person will be serving your food, but just because that person served you too much of food, don't try to eat everything out. Otherwise, try to tell to serve you less. Or my point is, don't overeat. If you're hungry, you eat whatever calories you could burn in a day. Don't overconsume, because like I again said, if you overconsume calories, you won't be able to burn those calories, and the trouble will be again showing up in your body in form of a fat, and you will be getting obese because of that. So avoid overeating. Okay, so don't eat smaller meals frequently. Now, according to a lot of people, eating smaller meals is good. Now when they talk about those smaller meals, they are talking about salads, they are talking about juices, and they are talking about nutrient and macronutrients and micronutrients or micro mineral things that they're talking about. Now let's take an example for French classic meal, right? They have 14 course meals. Now in India we eat 3 times a day, right? Proper French course meal or French classic meal is 14 times. Now you may suddenly get shocked thinking that what are you saying? Do they eat 14 times a day? No. But the 14 times meal what they eat is very short. But each short meal that they eat over there is hygienic and good. So you are not bulking up and bulging up your stomach each time you're eating. But here generally in the world we have breakfast, we have lunch, we have dinner. So every time we have these 3 things, we are eating up to the neck. That should not be the case. You should not eat up to the neck. You should only eat till your calorie capacity, till the calorie that you can burn, your BEE is up to the limit. So if you have 2000 BEE, if you have 1800 basic energy expenditure per day, then you should be able to eat, you should be eating only that much. So the aggregate of total meals that you ate per day should be equal to your BEE, that is basal energy expenditure or basic energy expenditure. You should not cross that. Okay, so that's the whole point. They also divide the whole meal into 14 parts and then they eat. So each time they are eating very less. So it's equal to what we eat 3 times in a day. And it's also healthy because you are not physically pushing your stomach to and your digestive system to digest more food at a time. You're giving very little at a point of time. So French classic menu again helps with dealing that. Now why I'm explaining that over here in again the bad habits of where they are telling that don't eat smaller meals frequently. I'm explaining that French people, right? The French classic menu has 14 different types of it, 14 different meals. They eat 14 times a day and in a smaller meals. And here they are telling don't eat smaller meals. What's the relevance of explaining this? Now my point is, here in what context they are telling it, you need to understand that first. Here, smaller meals means your chips, your biscuits, your cookies that you binge eat in between, right? You go to the kitchen, you grab cookies every once in a while, you're sitting for study, every hour you will go for a break or you will eat a cake or pastry. All those kind of things you should avoid. Those kind of smaller meals every once in a while, often consuming that, the frequency of smaller meals, those kind of smaller meals you should avoid. That's the whole point behind it. That doesn't mean that this point is applicable to the French classic menu that I'm talking about. This point is not applicable to the French classic menu because in the French classic menu what they're consuming is not cookies or anything like that. They are consuming the proper salads, juice or fruits or certain kind of dry fruits at different meals at different point of time. So that is totally different. I compared both so you understand this point in deep and in depth better. Okay, so hoping you understood that point. Let's move on to a next point, that is avoid rich carbohydrate food. Now like I said, carbohydrate is not bad, fat is not bad. Now it depends on how much you consume it. Okay, anything more is bad, right? Anything more is bad. When you have a chocolate, it feels good. Having chocolate once in a while is good, and chocolate also sharpens your intelligence. That's what the scientific study says. But if you consume too much of chocolate, what will happen? What will happen? You will get diabetes. So anything more is bad, anything less also is bad. You have to keep it in ratio, you have to keep it in balance. The same way, carbohydrates is the main source of energy. You cannot totally kill it unless you are on a ketogenic diet. Now what is ketogenic diet? We'll talk in some other session about it. But in ketogenic diet, in short, I will say the whole diet is based on fat, not on carbohydrates. In that diet, what is the process of ketosis? In ketosis, they convert the main source of energy into fat and the reserve energy they make it carbohydrates. So carbohydrates is zero there. But here what they are telling is avoid rich carbohydrate food means your full meal should not be consist of only carbohydrates. So if you consume 3 times in a day just carbohydrates, obviously your body will become obese and overweight. So you have to avoid that. You can consume carbohydrates, but it should not be over in a day. So avoid rich carbohydrate food. Avoid, have a balanced diet where everything will be there in your plate, in your meal. Every macro and micronutrients will be included. More about carbohydrates and macronutrients and micronutrients, again you have it in the first session. You have to watch that, then only you'll understand more about balanced diet. Having said that, let's move on to our next point, that is don't skip meals. Now many people during dieting, this is what they do. They don't eat at certain times. They skip their meals thinking that skipping meals per day will decrease their weight. No, that's not the case. Like I said, if you want to decrease your weight, you should not focus on the weight, but you should focus on the lifestyle. Once more, I want this in bold, in your head, registered. If you want to decrease your weight or increase your weight, don't focus on your weight, rather focus on your lifestyle or focus on your living habit. Okay, whatever habits you follow, focus on your daily lifestyle and your routine of sleeping and routine of working and eating and what all things you consume, that you have to focus on. Okay, now moving on to next point, regular exercise or physical activity. Now that's what I said, active lifestyle. We studied about active lifestyle, right? One point we studied about active lifestyle. The same point here in a different way. Regular exercise you have to do. You have to practice yoga, you have to do athletics, you have to participate in any sports, or you have to do any kind of physical activity that makes your calorie burn, or that puts your muscles in the work. Okay, so don't live a passive lifestyle, don't have a passive lifestyle, rather get involved and implement active lifestyle in your life. Moving on to next, we have balancing the intake of calories and expenditure of calories. Now, whatever calories you intake, okay, and how much calorie you burn, that you have to see. So if you are consuming 1800, if you are only able to burn 1000, then 800 is extra, right? It's bad for your body. That 800 will stack up in your body and it will show up in form of obesity or overweight. That should not happen. So that's my point. That's the point over here. Balancing the intake of calorie and expenditure of calorie is very important. You have to balance the intake and output. Okay, then whatever the remaining amount comes, you have to check that. You have to minus your BEE and you have to find the difference between your BEE and your total calorie consumption in a day, and whatever difference comes, that you have to balance that, you have to cut that in your calories, so that next time when you consume, you make sure that by the end of the day you are burning all that calorie and nothing is stacked up in your body. Okay, so having said that, hoping you saw the first session of this chapter, hoping you are watching the second session, and hoping you will be there for the third session. This is me, Rohit, signing out. Until next time, goodbye.